Now we are going to Sebastian, who will talk about global privacy control. If you know do not track, this is something like that, but it's new.
Okay, usability and enforceability of global privacy control. So let me start with how you can make money on the internet, on the web. There are two ways. Maybe if you know a third one, do let me know, because I only know these two. Collect from people money, collect from people data, and convert that to money. These are the two ways. Now, if we do the second, we collect data, we have problems, right? Collecting data causes lots of problems on the web. Transparency. People do not know about data collection and sharing practices, right? They visit a website, they think they interact with a particular website, and then underneath, as we have just learned in all the other talks, right, there are third parties, multiple third parties, data is being shared. That's all not obvious to the normal user. Now, we could say, all right, opt-out user, but it's difficult. This is one interface, and you can see, you can manage your settings, and you have to do this for every site. So that's a lot of work. And even if you do that, who guarantees that this is actually enforced, right? I mean, I can make settings, all kind of settings all day, but is there really something happening? I don't know. So we have increasingly laws that provide rights to users, like the CCPA, like the GDPR. But what happens? So the current online ad ecosystem is not good for privacy on the web. Now, we started global privacy control to hopefully change a little bit of that. So let me tell you about it. And fun fact, the first global privacy control signal was sent by my student David Baraka at Wesleyan University. Now you know. What is it? You can imagine it's like a little robot that pushes an opt-out button every time you visit a website, right? If that's what you want. Maybe you also only want to opt out from certain sites, because maybe you like this blog, you want to support them. And so you don't opt out there, but you opt out on other sites, right? And so every time you visit a site, there's a little robot that pushes a button, all right, opt me out, right? No more settings. Now, some of you, or maybe even all of you, might find this familiar. So wasn't there a setting, do not track? And yes, you can even find it today. So this is a recent screenshot from Google Chrome. And if you have very good eyes, you could read, send a do not track request with your browsing traffic. So you can enable that, and it sends a do not track request. But what's the problem with that? The problem with that is that this is based on a law. It's called the California Online Privacy Protection Act, and it's a fairly old law. And that says you have to disclose how you react to a do not track signal. Let me repeat that. You have to disclose how you react to a do not track signal. It does not say you have to comply with a do not track signal, right? And that's why when you look into a privacy policy, it says, all right, you send us a do not track signal. That's very nice, but unfortunately we cannot respond to it. But that's now different. We have now new laws like the California Consumer Privacy Act, the Colorado Privacy Act, the Connecticut Data Privacy Act, and probably some more soon, that actually make this mandatory. It says, all right, if somebody opts out through technical measures, then you actually need to respect that, right? And some people called that here regulation by tweet. I'm not sure if Twitter is still a thing here, but at that time it was. And so this is the California Attorney General saying, all right, CCPA requires businesses to treat a user-enabled global privacy control as a legally valid consumer request to opt out of the sale of their data. So in other words, when you receive a GPC signal, You have to respect it. And in fact, this was enforced. There was an enforcement action against cosmetics retailer that did not respect GPC, and so they faced the music here. Now, let me summarize a little bit where we stand. So GPC is included in various browsers and extensions, Brave, Firefox, DuckDuckGo. On the other side, I realized I'm a huge fan of the NFL recently and Lego. They implemented it. Many publishers, WordPress, for example, and so they're coming more and more. If you want to check, there's a good resource where you actually can check if a site respects GPC or implemented GPC. And then the consent management platforms, that's also a great angle, actually, because they would like to have new features, right? They can sell new features to their customers if they implement new privacy-preserving technologies like GPC. And that's why it's included in many of these consent management platform tools. We're working with various privacy and consumer organizations, and maybe most importantly, the regulators, right? Because they need to enforce it and they need to understand it. Now, another part is standardization. So we are in the process of standardizing GPC for the web, right? The web should be structurally private. We don't need to tag something on, right? We need to have a structurally private web, and the way to do this is through standards. Standards also provide the link between the law and the implementation, right? Because it's very difficult if you are a publisher and the law says, okay, respect people's opt-out rights. Yeah, how I'm going to do that, right? But then the regulators can point to a standard and say, if you satisfy the standard, you're complying with the law. And then if the implementation satisfies that, right, they are done. And that's why a standard is so important. Now, how does GPC work? Well, it's through an HTTP header, basically the same thing as DNT, or it can be through a DOM property. In other words, you send some JavaScript code where people can set their opt-out preference, right, through their browser or extension, and then it has the same effect. I would point out the DOM property is particularly interesting for publishers because it's very quick. So publishers know immediately, all right, I can target this person with personalized advertising or not. They like to understand what advertisement can I send, and the quicker they know this, the better. That's why the DOM property is so important. Now, I talked about GPC. Now, you might ask yourself, where's the science? And so that part comes now. So I want to talk about two elements that we investigated, usability of GPC and the enforcement. Usability of GPC, would people enable GPC? Yes. The short answer is yes. Why do I know that? Because we asked people to do a setup of a fictional browser, and we did not tell them this is about privacy. We just showed them 4 different screens. We asked them, all right, would you like to enable syncing through the different devices that you have? Would you like to have tabs, right? We asked them these questions, and one of them was also, would you like to enable global privacy control? And the outcome is that 94% of people said, I would like to enable global privacy control. So among these features, it was actually the most selected feature, right? And so it stands to reason that people would actually use it. Would they understand it? The answer is also yes. 81% of people responded correctly to our answers and also explained to us in their own words what GPC does. It is a little bit like, okay, 4 out of 5 dentists, blah, blah, blah. Here in this case, 81%, 4 out of 5 normal internet users understood GPC. That's a pretty good rate. Second, compliance with GPC. How do you identify whether a site is compliant with GPC? That's not trivial. There is one method that we came up with, which involves the US privacy string. So basically, this is a US privacy string. And this is passed around in the online ad ecosystem. And the third character, the N here, tells websites whether somebody is opted out or not. In this case, the answer is N, no. If it's a Y, it means yes. And so the idea is you check the string, you send a GPC signal, you recheck the string, and then has the string value changed to Y, yes or no? And then you can determine, all right, this site respects GPC or not. And so we did that. We built a little tool. It's called OptMeOut, and it does this kind of compliance analysis. And as you can see here, the Washington Post, for example, is compliant. And on the right side, if you visit the WashingtonPost.com outside of California, you realize actually, it does something else. It does not process your request because it's not in California, and that's entirely okay. So this is the methodology, and we did this. And the outcome, unfortunately, is not great. Many sites who should respect GPC don't do it. So we crawled about 2,000 sites. 464 of them, should respect GPC, and very few of them actually did. I contacted about 15 of them and had very good conversations, actually. So people were, really responsive and tried to do the right thing. I only had one bad experience. And that also shows times have changed a little bit since DMT. So we have a long way to go, but we're getting there. Now, we need to do 3 upcoming tasks. So this is a little bit the future work that we're going to do. First, standardize GPC, continue promoting the adoption. Secondly, crawl sites at scale repeatedly over time to see, do enforcement actions actually have an impact? What kind of enforcement action have the most impact, and so on and so forth. Thirdly, what about the mobile ecosystem? We're going to develop GPC for Android. And hopefully we also get it into the mobile ad ecosystem. Now, here are the 3 main takeaways. We have created global privacy control for opting out from ad tracking. We're continuing our work, and so that GPC will be broadly adopted, particularly through standardization, and crucial for the interplay of implementation and crucial is the interplay between standardization, implementation, and legal enforcement. Now, let me finalize here by introducing the team. So this is, the GPC web team. Oliver Wang, Jocelyn Wang, no relation, Sophie Ang, Kate Hausladen, Kuba Aliki, worked on OptMeOut, did some great work, great Wesleyan undergrads. And I also want to say thank you here, I have the privilege of working with a lot of great people on GPC. I learned so much from them about the standardization process in particular. It's really great. That said, finally, a thank you to our sponsors, the NSF, Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, and Wesleyan University. And if we have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. We have so many questions, and the most upvoted one asked about a question about your user study. Asked whether in the fake browser interface was GPC enabled by default.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I thought about this very hard. How can we do this? And the way we did it was actually through a GIF. I think some people also pronounce it GIF. So, it was kind of going back and forth, like every second or something like that. And so we thought, that might, not nudge people in one way or the other direction. But yeah, that's an excellent point, yeah.
Excellent, thanks so much. Maybe another one. Do you see adoption of laws similar to CCPA in other US states, similar to the CCPA?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was on a call with, all the 50 state regulators, and all of them were interested in this topic. And I think what we will see is we will see some states, making very strong adoption, and then some maybe a little bit less so. Their situation is a little bit different. Like, for example, Connecticut does not have regulations, and so they might put out like frequently asked questions where they write about this. Others have more intricate regulations, like Colorado, for example. So everybody does it a little bit in their own way. But I think there's a good chance, and I mean, fingers crossed, that hopefully in 5 years when we meet again, we have made hopefully some progress.
so much, Sebastian. I think there are a few other questions. You can take them on the Zoom. Thanks so much.
Thank you again.